Hello, everybody. My name is Heather Fromack, and I am the program manager for HSLDA's Educational Consultants. And I am here working remotely along with two and a half of our other educational consultants. We have Christy Horner, who's trying to make her way through some uncooperative internet access to join us today. We are here to talk about, with real life happening for all of us here, what it's like to work at home and also try to get some school done at home as well. We know a lot of people are struggling with that topic right now. Even if you're a veteran homeschooler, it's something that is an ongoing thing that we are working through. All four of us are working and homeschooling moms, so we're here to provide some practical information for you today, and we really want you to join us in an engaging kind of way. We want this to be a conversation. So we would love to hear from you. If you could let us know just right away where you're watching from, and we'd love to know that. And we'll ask some other questions to get to know you a little bit better soon too. So I'm Heather. We also have with us Faith Behrens. Faith, would you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, I'm Faith, and I am one of HSLDA's special needs consultants, part-time, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. And we have high school educational consultant, Linnesser James. Linnesser, you tell us a little bit about you?
Good afternoon. I'm Linessa James. I'm a mom, homeschooler, wife of 7 children from ages 22 to age 4. So I want to give you hope that you can homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. I'm also one of the high school educational consultants at HSLDA.
She's going to have a lot of great tips. Works with lots of mamas. And Christy Horner, I hope, is back. Can we hear you, Christy?
Hey, ladies, I'm back. At least for now, right?
Exactly.
So I'm joining everybody from West Virginia. So we'll see how the internet holds up. But I've been working in homeschooling for 12 years now. And so I'm happy to share any tips that I have. I'm also a special needs educational consultant and the educational consultant for engagement at HSLDA with these awesome women. So
Awesome. A little bit about me. I'm a homeschooling mom with 5 kids. My oldest son just got married last Saturday. Hooray!
Woo-hoo.
And then we have 3 that we've graduated from our homeschool and 2 still at home. So we are processing these things along with you. One of the things that we'd like to say from the very beginning is that this is a no judgment space. This is not a pressure space. This is not, even though we are Homeschool Legal Defense Association, we are here to support you whether schooling at home is something you always wanted to do or never wanted to do. We are here to help you. This is a really challenging time. We're also here just to encourage you, and we'd like to know what your feelings are about homeschooling right now. And maybe we should even change it, you guys, from homeschooling, because homeschooling has sort of a permanence and a whole lifestyle associated with it. But I think for a lot of people right now, they're not thinking homeschooling. They might just be thinking school at home temporarily. So Christy helped us by coming up with 3 categories of people who you might find yourself to fit into one of these categories. So we have safe survival mode, and this is a family that might just be feeling like, you know what, we're just here to do the day-to-day approach. We just need to figure out what to do now and to keep our kids safe. We don't really intend to homeschool. So that'd be safe survival mode. Second category, open to options. Maybe you've been thinking about homeschooling and now you've been forced to kind of practice with it a little bit and you're looking for a more flexible kind of approach. And then there's that third category. My niece is in this category. She's been thinking about homeschooling for a long time. They really were planning on it at some point. And now the coronavirus and the challenges people are having trying to school anywhere else has caused her to go, okay, we're ready. So if you're one of those in one of those categories, let us know. Tell us who you are. Are you a safe survival mode person, open to options person, or here to stay kind of a person? So as we're thinking about homeschool versus school at home, how about if, Linnesser, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you think the differences between those might be?
Well, if you're homeschooling, you probably have already put in your official intent to homeschool form, and you've already been a part of a community of homeschooling that's already in process. And I always say to our existing homeschoolers, be careful because there's so many different curriculum options available. It can make us kind of be all over the place. We were already homeschooling, right? Before the coronavirus. Versus if you're schooling at home, then you're like millions and millions of Americans who schools are closed now. And so you are listening in because you're working remotely. That's the safest place to be. And you are schooling at home.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say something that is important is that there is now only one teacher. You think about that. You were homeschooling. If you were sending your kid to a traditional school, they had schoolwork during the day and they came home to do schoolwork at night. Well, now there's just one teacher. And so now I just want you to relax and have fun with this because now you've actually saved some time. So you don't have to school in the morning and at night. So I really suggest one of my hottest tips is that if you're working remotely, there's nothing that says that you need to have that schoolwork done during the day. It can just be at night.
I think that feeds into a comment that my friend Cheryl Carter mentioned. She is a dynamic leader in New York City and amongst a lot of homeschoolers. And she and I were talking about how overwhelming social media has been in terms of resources, in terms of suggestions. And she was saying, you know, she really wanted to be more a part of a symphony rather than adding to the noise. And I think for us, that's a part of what we're here to do today is help curate and sift through some of the content and the quantity of the content. So Christy helped set up some structure for our conversation today. And the first thing we wanted to talk about was structure and schedule. So let's say, for example, you are at home and you're finding yourself at home without any time to plan, and you have littles. Let's talk about how we can make a day work for littles in that kind of circumstance. Christy, what suggestions do you have?
Well, I think Heather, littles, whether it's littles, middles, or bigs, there's a lot that goes into deciding what that day is going to look like, right? So for me, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work at home a lot. And so that guides what our day looks like. And so even when my kids were younger, they're now middles, but when they were little, we kind of set this expectation together. You know, we had a family conversation and we said, okay, this is where we are. This is what we're doing for our family. This is what we were called to do. But you know, that can also be, this is what we have to do now. And if this is what we have to do, it really gives this opportunity to come together and say, okay, let's be a team and let's figure out what we're going to do. And littles will jump in on that. There's a lot of fun resources. You know, it's easy to think if you're pulling out of public school, you've come to this arena because you had to, that like Lanissa said, you're used to having all these teachers, all these assignments, things, you know, directed for you. And I just would encourage moms, dads, grandparents, whoever is actually the one responsible right now for these littles. I would encourage them to really think outside the box and realize that it's okay if, even if you're not calling yourself survival mode parent person right now, it's okay to just survive and just be happy and just get through the day to day. You know, Legos and Play-Doh and documentaries and videos and things like that, coloring books, it doesn't have to be structured. And so while, yes, a lot of people are finding themselves at home, they don't have to find themselves, quote unquote, homeschooling in a traditional sense.
There isn't that pressure. There isn't that right now. I think that we need to, let's get real for a minute. I've been homeschooling for a long time and I'm feeling distracted by the pandemic. And it's hard for me as someone who's been doing this for a long, long time to wrap my mind around, okay, how is this going to affect our day? Because even as homeschoolers, homeschoolers tend to be out there. We are
Yeah.
community co-ops. We have other people teaching our kids, and so now all of that is changing. Those dynamics are changing. So I can only imagine how stressful and distracting it can be if you were really thrown into this without any preparation time. So I think that whole idea of being outside the box and just being able to go, okay, enrichment and other things can be what we focus on right now while we figure out the rest of this. Gives you some margin not only to figure it out for your family, but also to create a tone in your home to help the kids calm as well. We have a question here, and then I want to get some input from you, Faith, as someone with so much expertise with special needs. The question is, what is the definition of little, middle,
Yes.
and bigs? You know, we throw out terms. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Amy, for asking, because, you know, we all kind of use terms that we think everybody gets. So thank you for stopping us. So, Faith, why don't you explain what little, middle, and bigs are? And then we also have someone saying, you know, they're trying to think of this also in terms of their kids having special needs. She has a child, Paula has a child with high functioning autism. So what is the definition of little, middle, and bigs? And then special needs comment here, right?
Sure. Well, I should say that I have, you could say I have a little. I consider him little. He's 10. So I think of littles as being like pre-K to elementary. And the middles would be like our tweeners, our middle school kids. You know, my son's kind of on the cusp there. He's getting into, you know, pubescence and moving into the and he has friends who are younger than him and friends who are older than him in middle school. So, and then of course our bigs would be our teens, our high schoolers. So that's what we mean by little, middles, and bigs here in our posse. Would you ladies agree?
Yes.
All right. So, and I do want to piggyback on something these other gals have said, like to just kind of like take a breath and realize that, you know, in the midst of all the noise and the panic, my heart is to just encourage families to let's look for the blessing and the silver lining in the midst of this, because we have the opportunity to pull in, to have more time with our children, more time as a family. Yes, our homeschool routine has been distracted and disjointed because of all this as well. You know, we can't go to the library, we can't go to sports right now. So yesterday we got in the car and we took a drive in the afternoon, and we went on Skyline Drive a little bit, and we looked at the Shenandoah River, and we pulled up the map, and then we pulled up the song, Oh Shenandoah, and we had a little music lesson, and we hit a drive-through and got burgers, and it was my mom lives with us and she helps with homeschooling, so we have to be extra careful having an older person in our home and who she's around. So our whole life too has been turned upside down. So I guess one thing I just want to say to everybody who's watching and listening is we are here for you. We certainly don't have all the answers. We want to brainstorm and share some tips with you and hear your heart and hear your questions and needs. But so that's a little bit about what's going on here at our house, and our days have kind of been, we've had to regroup and revisit what homeschooling is going to look like for us. Now, the question about special needs is also close to my heart. I have two kiddos, with one with auditory processing, one with dyslexia, dyscalculia. So my teenage daughter, who will graduate this June, hopefully. No, she will. So families not only have been uprooted out of school and their life and work, now it's, well, what do we do about therapy? My kids were getting special services at school. We can't go to social skill peer group, or we can't go to music therapy or whatever. So what do we do at home? And so I was hoping to get to share. Sorry, you guys, I'm fighting allergies, so I'm just really raspy right now.
It's okay, Faith.
You know, I would encourage, if you do have a child with special needs, they had IEP or 504 at school and they were getting services, and that's on hold for now. To reach out to your medical specialists or email the therapists and folks that were seeing your kiddos and ask them for consultative services. Ask them to send you some activities, some things to do at home, some games to work on therapy at home. I know, Lanissa, I hope this is okay to share. I know that you have a child that gets some. Am I okay with this?
Absolutely.
Okay. You have a son who gets some speech and language therapy at a clinic, at a hospital or university, and I'm sure that's on hold for a while. So reaching out to people and asking, can you do teletherapy? Can we do this via Zoom or Skype? You know, there's things readily available on the internet for therapy, like otmom.com is a great website if you have a child with OT needs or sensory needs. And all of us have kiddos that either have gotten therapy in the past or are in therapy. So if you ladies want to chime in about what you're doing in this season on your all's end, that would be great.
Yes, the speech pathologist that I was seeing at Children's gave us some sheets to work for Leo to work with his speech pathology at home. So there are a lot of things that the specialist can give you to work at home, and that's exciting. I do want to add one thing. When we said little, I have a 4-year-old at home, and we do want to acknowledge the fact that many of you have little kids at home, like seriously, like non-school age kids, because you're not going out, they're maybe not going to the daycare. So you probably, like us, have a daycare at home when you have a 4-year-old. And so I think that has a fun dynamics when not only are you working from home, but you have little kids at home who are not school age. And I love what Christy was saying about Play-Doh and Legos and perhaps staying in their pajamas. I have a 4-year-old now who's staying in her pajamas and she's okay with it, you know, raking leaves outside. I mean, you're living in an apartment, you're just maybe, you know, going out to get some air. It's very, very, very challenging to work with small children. And I think, Heather, you touched on that. We don't want to pretend like this is all rosy. It's difficult. And you have a lot of different ages. So again, everything doesn't have to be done all at one time. It doesn't have to be done in the morning. It could be done in the evening. And yeah, this is exciting, isn't it? It's exciting.
It is. And, you know, real life is happening on my phone.
Whose phone is ringing?
So, you know, this is sort of like, okay, we're giving you the real life experience.
We're working from home.
Sorry. So working at home, you have a plan, told the kids to be quiet, everybody's working from home, and then my phone is ringing. Okay, so this is working remotely and trying to do your thing. I have been hearing, as you guys have been talking, part of what we can share with people is that this whole idea of homeschooling is like a huge elephant that you take one bite of at a time. You know, it's like trying to eat an elephant. We are not going to be able to talk about every possible thing at this 5 minutes in time or this 1 hour, but we want to encourage you to take it one step at a time, and to take a few steps back and know that there is support for you here at HSLDA, no matter where you decide to fall in these 3 categories that we talked about. But I do think that one of the things that I've been hearing a lot from lots of different homeschoolers is maybe to think about this time not even as homeschool. Really, this is a time for everyone to, like Faith was talking about, pull in and regroup and focus on what priorities are really most important to you. And maybe that'll end up being homeschooling. But for now, it's being together and thinking long term. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. I want you guys to chime in as well. I was thinking, you know, this will be over someday. And like Faith was saying, there will be good that comes out of it. I'm thinking, what will I want to say to my future self? How will I want to have known I spent this time with my family, helping other people, with my faith, with my perspective and emotions around this? Because my kids are picking up on that. even if it's just me and the kids in the house
Yeah.
and I don't get outside, I have a very powerful moment here that will last in their memories. Am I going to be stressed and panicked? Or am I going to embrace this as a moment and take it one moment at a time? So maybe we could feed off of that a little bit. I'd like to hear your thoughts, ladies, about, Faith shared an idea that their family just got out of the house. They were still practicing social distancing because they were in a car, but they were able to leave. What are some things you all have been doing to try to make the most of this moment?
Well, I can say that we are, as you guys know, we are a techie family. And so my kiddos are karate kids. And when I say karate kids, I mean, 10 to 20 hours a week. Theater kids, they're very used to being immersed in the community. And so while we kind of joke about, internally the socialization factor of homeschooling, and we hear that from time to time, we all know that that's really very far from the truth. And so we, like the others that are in this situation, are feeling the pull and the strain of not having those connections and those ties. So being a techie family, my son said, I really want to be able to see my friends. And I think, Mom, what do you think about starting a Google Hangout group and sharing it with others, so we could have a video game chat or a hangout where they literally live are playing their video games and just chatting, like coexisting. In our olden days, it would have been a phone call. But in the olden days, today, the kids are, let them FaceTime, let them see their friends, let them get creative. I think we can use this time to really tap into the possibilities of things like that. So we have been doing some of that already. I know it's like week 2 barely. So it is probably going to get a lot tougher, but I guess we'll really start being creative as we go along. But so we have been utilizing that. We've been utilizing online live classes that can be for fun. Just art classes, because those platforms go not nationwide. Those classes, a lot of them are worldwide, right?
That's right.
And so my kids,
tell us
yeah,
what you use.
we really largely are using OutSchool, and no, that's just an honest plug, because it tends to be our favorite. We can pick a one-time afternoon class if I'm working, and since we have parents that have been thrust into the home unexpectedly, if they have something really important or really pressing to do, you can pay for several kids and have that on one computer screen, or however you're going to access that, and all of the kids gather around and they can take a class on herbs and warrior cats, or they can take a class on writing, or they can, I'm telling you, if you are interested in it, somebody is already teaching a class on it live.
Right.
And so you feel like they're getting engagement, they're learning from somebody else. And you don't feel guilty about that as a mom, because I think we've all experienced that. Anytime your heart is to be one place and you're feeling pulled in another direction, away from your kids, then you have this little tinge of guilt. So, and even if you're not expecting the homeschool, I do think that when parents come home, a lot of us are feeling, moms, dads, if your kid is in front of you, that you feel then this responsibility to be the one teaching them. And I think we, again, can relieve that pressure, and we can say, hey, there are a lot of things you can tap into, more if you're not so socially distanced. But even in this time, OutSchool is a great one. One-time classes, you can do series of classes, academic classes, fun classes, and they're affordable. And a lot of these people, not just OutSchool, but we know all the different places we can go now that have surfaced to, because of the COVID-19, we can actually they're offering discounts. And so some things are free, and some things, people have really come together to say, hey, we can do this together. We can support each other. I have something that you can benefit from, so let me share it.
That's right. And I've seen, for example, some specifics would be IEW is offering some free and discounted writing courses and vocabulary and poetry courses online. Art I Dear. It's art, the word I, and then dear, Deer, is a fantastic standalone art course your kids can do online based in Australia. We have study.com. I know
Mhm.
ambleside.com is offering their curriculum for free now. These are all online resources that your kids can do while you're um, doing what you need to do for work and managing the home. I know lots of times for my kids, I will literally be sitting right next to them, working on my laptop, doing my work while they're doing theirs. And it gives us a sense of oversight, while at the same time, someone else is taking responsibility for that teaching.
Mhm.
Someone else asked, they said, I would love to hear more about how you support your APD kiddo. And so, Faith, what is an
Oh.
APD kiddo? I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's auditory processing
Thank
disorder.
you. I have one.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the acronym. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to touch on that, and then I want to hop back to hear some other great ideas that you guys have for at home. And I love what Lannister said earlier about, learning doesn't have to happen during certain hours, like
Right.
school at home hours. It can be evening. So maybe you pick a book as a family that you're just going to read aloud after dinner, or listen to an audiobook and talk about it. So I'll address auditory processing disorder, but since you brought that up, Heather and Lanissa, I'm piggybacking, like we're jumping around, but I don't want to forget it. So with this whole thing with the coronavirus, and like, I think it's important to take teachable moments. Like when I was in the classroom, we were so mandated to follow like pacing guides, and like all first graders have to be learning about, whatever country it was, and or butterflies, and you can't teach that before, third grade because it wasn't on the SOL. But a butterfly came in the classroom. It used to be you could take the teachable moment, not so much. So in homeschooling, we have a lot of freedom. So while you're schooling at home, I know that many of you probably have lessons to follow, or things, or online that you have to do. But think about enrichment and what, take the teachable moment. So we're actually going to read about Gladys Aylward, who was a missionary to China. It's book links, and it came with lots of fun activities like cooking and recipes. And so we're gonna, with Hayden, and we're gonna learn a little bit about China, Chinese culture. I used to live in Korea, so I love Asia. But anyway, so I think taking the teachable moment and talking with our kids to dispel the fear and anxiety. Um, so so now let me shift over to the auditory processing question. So with kiddos with auditory processing disorder, a lot of times in a classroom setting, they'll be given accommodation like preferential seating, being close to the teacher's desk so that they can hear and process the directions that are given. They'll be given not just oral directions, because oftentimes our kiddos with this have trouble holding auditory directions. Like if I said, go get your pencil, get your math book and a calculator and meet me in the living room, they might have a difficult time with that. So I would give him a sticky note that says pencil, math book, calculator, living room. See you in 5. Go. See how fast you can do it. Now he has a checklist, and it's a competition for him to also see how fast he can get those things and meet me there. So making things fun, simple, step by step, but visuals is really helpful. Now that you're going to have more people at home, and mom and dad might be working, and there's noise and barking and lots of kids, in a classroom, there's lots of noise going on. So some kids will wear noise canceling headphones, or they may listen to quiet music in the background with their earbuds. So now that they're at home having to do school, you may have to be creative about where they do school, because they're often easily distracted or overstimulated with too much noise. So you may have to set aside a quiet space, or pull that child somewhere one-on-one. and do a short lesson away from everybody else. Those are just a few tips for auditory processing disorder.
Those are awesome tips, and a wonderful website for people to get more information is understood.org. Fantastic, very practical resources for all kinds of special needs and struggling learners. And of course, if you're a member of HSLDA, you can call and talk to our special needs consultants anytime. So, and I also want to point you to our Quick Start, hslda.org /Quick Start. We have a 3-week guide for what you can do for the first 3 weeks of having to process this, which is very systematic and a little more cohesive than what we're processing through today, because we're trying to be responsive to your questions too. We would like to ask you just to put an emoji in there with the face of how you're feeling about this whole situation right now too. Let us know you're out there, send us a little face and let us see how you're feeling. And Lanissa, we've had quite a few questions about hours related to school. How many hours should I homeschool? What about doing it in the morning versus the afternoon versus the evening? And you know, there's so much to this whole idea of school at home or homeschooling. But again, I think we're trying to encourage people to really think of this as one step at a time. So what kind of input would you give people regarding those things?
Yeah, that's a good question. There is a personality type that really needs and loves structure.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to leave those people out. And I love structure. I didn't want the coronavirus to have me all over the place. And so it was important that we stuck with the curriculum that we already had in place. I mean, we really were coming down the home stretch of what we had been already using since August. So even though I had, and we all have 50,000 free things coming at you, we're really using that more as a supplement, as an enrichment, if you will. And I was encouraging my students to stick with what you were already using. I do run a co-op, and we had, similar to Christy, we had a big Zoom meeting so that students could see familiar faces. And we're having another one on Wednesday. And so when it comes down to structure, we have it set for the same time every week. So that's a tip for leaders, because kids, sometimes when they're away from structure, things get out of hand.
Yeah.
If you are working remotely, there's an expectation from your employer. There's an expectation that you work at a specific time, a start and an end. People are very cognizant of that, especially now, you know, that they're setting you up remotely. So you do need the structure for the kids. And so perhaps you can put some things in writing. I like for the kids to kind of start with their, you know, their breakfast and their devotionals and go right to their math. And that's the kind of morning structure that we have set up. We didn't want to change that. And that's kind of what we're expecting. So when I show up, you know, when I say I show up, they're trained, of course, because we've been homeschooling, to just put some things in place. And that's important. So if you need structure, I always talk about putting the day in brackets. It's kind of like a 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. I call that winter zone, where you're up early and you get things done. And then you have to decide, what do I want to get done between 9 and 12? Be intentional about this. What do I want to get done between 9 and 12? And then what do I want to get done between, say, 12 and 4? When will I be finished for the day? And those are the kind of things that you need to not only know for yourself, but the kids need to know when you're going to be available. You're working remotely, and they're like, Mom's working all day. Is she going to ever be off? Will she stop for lunch? So if those kind of things they know up front, it really away the stress and anxiety for the kids watching you work. And Heather, you said something that I thought was great, is that we have this one moment in time to set an example, because it's not what's caught about how we feel about working in this whole situation, that our kids will model from what we do. And so you want it to be, oh, I have to work from home, I need you all to be quiet. You know, you know, is your boss expecting you to be live, right? On Facebook, you know, are there calls coming in, or is it that you just need a quiet space to type? Be intentional. So this morning, it was rowdy in the James house, okay? I mean, rowdy. I really wanted them to be rowdy because I knew that at 2 o'clock, but you don't want to set it up where your kids have to be quiet all day long. You know?
Mhm.
So you have to be intentional. If you have flexible hours and you can do your remote working in the evening, then you're working in the evening. So we have to be cognizant that the parents are under stress to be able to offer. I love what someone said. She says, by the evening, I'm out of energy.
Yeah.
Out of energy. And I respect that. You know, one of my curriculum plugs is teachingtextbooks.com. It's math. You know, they're given the first 15 lessons free from third grade to pre-calculus. And so you want things that move without you. There's a tutor with each problem. You want to even raise up independent learners.
That's
And
right.
that's what we're looking for. So I want you to know, just because you're homeschooling doesn't mean that you have to sit with each course with your child. So this is an opportunity. Hey, I have my college student who got sent home. I know some of you out there, right? The college closed. And it's the same expectation on a college level that she come home, get the work done, put it in the class, you know, the classroom section, and meet a particular deadline. And so those are the kind of skills that I think we have the opportunity to teach our kids. And if you're the type of person that likes structure like I do, I think that this is a great time to teach it. But I want to remind you, plan your downtime too. Like, don't forget to, you know, come out of your office for lunch and, you know, plan time for your board games. If you're a planner, these are great opportunities for you.
That's so good, Lanessa. So many
Yeah.
good tips. I almost think of it sort of like, if you take away the stress of the coronavirus and the other concerns that come with it, it's almost like, you know, when we were little, we would play house. And it was sort of preparation for when you would someday have your own home and your own responsibilities. And in some ways, I love the way you're talking about the structure, because maybe you're one of those people who has been thinking about homeschooling or is open to it. And this is kind of a sort of a low risk time from that perspective to give it a try.
Sure.
You know, you can practice a little bit with some of these routines that you're talking about, and even make it kind of fun. So I like that. It was really, really good stuff. And we also wanted to point out a couple more resources.
Yes.
There, we talked about OutSchool, and there's also a website called Top 50 Homeschool YouTube Channels for homeschooling and homeschoolers, because you were talking about times when you need the kids to be quiet.
Yes.
And yet, it's always a good feeling if you know that this is an enriching thing in their lives. They're not just watching, in my kids' case, Dick Van Dyke over and over again, which is a great show, but not all day long, right? So this can give you that mutual sense, even Christy mentioned too, where you know your kids are getting good input, but they can be quiet for that meeting you might have, or just that focus time that you need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have something you wanted to share about that?
Me?
Me
Or
Christy?
Christy?
I always have information to share. So do you, Faith.
Oh, you, and
Yes, you do.
and
Or
she
30.
said YouTube. She said YouTube, and I was like, no, the battle is real over here. I have to like put the lockdown on YouTube at my house. Hide that iPad.
Yes, you have to
So-
know your students. Yes.
That's a good thing that we haven't gotten to yet, but I wanted to mention we have compiled this resource, and if anybody is interested in having the resource with live links to things like managing screen time, managing you know, your YouTube time, we do have that document. So if people want that from us, then they can find us at the Educational Consultants Facebook page or the main Facebook page, or they can just shoot us an email, but we'll happily send that over to them. But I'm actually looking at it here to see when we were talking about really good quality things that the kids can do while we're working. I saw a question, I think it was from Amy, and she had asked, you know, she's exhausted by the end of the day, and how long does this take? And so I think it's important that as we are seeing so many people get this live try at homeschooling, that we point them to what, even though this isn't what we might consider homeschooling in this midst, it could be. And so knowing that if you are considering this, it doesn't have, and we've talked a lot about schedules, it doesn't have to be at a certain time, but it also doesn't have to be you, right, giving the instruction. So there are a lot of online programs. If you are serious about this and you are looking for, academic rigor, we have the HSLDA Online Academy for what, 7th grade, I think, is the first class and up. So there are a lot of things out there that we can do besides, right now we are offering really fun, engaging things, as people are working from home, but we know that more and more people are actually working from home and homeschooling. And we see that when we're at conferences or on Facebook Lives or just listening to moms calling in. So it is a real thing. If you are looking to work in homeschool, you really have that flexibility to make it work for you. So that was just a little side note because I had seen that question pop up. But there are virtual field trips and links to those flying around. So your kiddos can take a field trip. So it is fun for them and they are learning. So the important thing is, I think that maybe in a traditional sense, school isn't fun for many kids, or it's just not meeting their needs. And so this is a really great opportunity to bring the academics and the fun and put them together through Disney Nature, the unit studies that are already prepared. There's a lot out there that's already prepared for you. So really it's open and go. The Disney Nature, the virtual classes, the Cricket Media is a favorite magazine that we had used and I actually taught in a co-op setting. There are news sites, so you can help your kids navigate this uncertain time well, and teach them without scaring them. So we use CNN 10, and there's a whole list of apps. We love commonsensemedia.org. And so that's a really great thing if you're finding your kids need to be with, heavier on the screen time or, maybe not quite as supervised as you might like. They have a lot of great resources there from a technology standpoint, but also helping them navigate the social and the stressfulness of this whole situation. So
when I listen to you all and even some of the things that I've said, I'm stepping back for a minute and imagining, okay, I'm brand new to all of this, and we've just shot out a whole bunch of different resources. And I've been following social media a bit, and that has more resources than even I can fathom. And I think if I were brand new to this, what would be really helpful would be to give like a sample day with just a sample resource for each thing. So we have a question from Paula Roberts who asks about what unschooling is. And what I'm asking you all not right this minute is to describe something that is not unschooling. Unschooling is much more delight directed. It's more you go with your subject matter based upon what interest your child has. So for example, my son really loves animals. So we might do math related to animals. We might do science related to animals. We might do language arts based upon animals. We might let his interests kind of drive the day. And that's a very high level explanation of unschooling. I would say that there's a lot of great resources for unschoolers, but I wouldn't say that unschooling is probably the most common way that people homeschool. It's one of the freedoms you have to homeschool. But what I'm asking you ladies for is a sample day. I'm home and I'm going to take some time to figure this out. Maybe I'll do it over the weekend. But for today, I've got morning, noon, and night, and I've got subjects. So what could a morning look like, Lanissa? Very basic and very straightforward.
Well, a straightforward approach to that is making a decision in advance which subjects you're going to tackle. I think it's the fallacy that just because you homeschool, you have to do all 7 topics and 7 subjects. And that's where I think we're getting ourselves in trouble. So you heard me say in the morning, it's devotionals, it's math, you know what I mean? We want reading involved because keep in mind, lunchtime is coming. You got to cook too, right?
Right.
Some of you guys are blessed to have your chef, locked in with you. For the rest of us, we're also the cook now, right? And it's important that you take breaks. So usually in the morning, I'm looking at about 2, no more than 3 subjects. I just want to make sure I say that.
Mhm.
Important. And you decide what those subjects are. For us, it's, it's Bible, it's math, and it's some sort of, reading base. So that means that somebody's doing history or somebody's doing their literature book.
And
And
can I interrupt you just for a second there? Do
sure.
you find that, I find at least, wondering if this is for you too, that I have to take those subjects, those most important ones, whether it's math, reading, Bible, whatever you think is most important, and fit that into that chunk a day when I'm most reliable.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's morning. For
Mm-hmm.
someone else who works, starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and works, maybe it's the afternoon or after lunch. But I find that if you take those most important subjects that I do nothing else, I'm going to get that and fit that into my most reliable time of day, I can feel like the rest is gravy. Do you feel that way
Right.
too, Lynn, sir?
Sure, that's your peak time, and everybody has a different peak time where they're more effective. Some people is at night and some people's in the morning, and it's important that because you're right, because then you're more irritable if you're working on a topic that maybe, remember, most people who are homeschooling now never signed up to be a teacher, right? You were planning to send your kids someplace else, and now you're the teacher. So yeah, you do want to work on some of those peak time. You also have to assess in that time period, say between 8 and 12, what is the expectation for your job? Remember, we're talking about working remotely. This morning I was on the phone lines for HSLDA and talking to high schoolers, and this is always a privilege, I'm getting it wrong, my marbles in my mouth, but I was not able to work with the kids during that. So they knew what they needed to do before 9 o'clock. So we started a little bit earlier on those days that I'm on the phone. I'm usually only on the phone, 2 mornings, but those are the days that the kids are working with me before 9, because at 9 I'm on the phone. And then we meet back up at 12 o'clock. And, and so it's exciting to say, hey, did you do your 3 lessons? Which brings me to circle time. Now, I know circle time is usually a kindergarten thing, but we do circle time where there's a time, it's always in the evening for me. I have the place in my home where I sit down and I relax, and the kids bring what they needed from me that I was unable to help them with into that space. And everybody comes one at a time. You can imagine what this looks like with 7 kids, right? Comedy. It's comedy. But I'm in my happy place. I'm sitting on my favorite couch. My legs are up. And they bring it to me. They're like, oh, I didn't understand this. And, here's and they're taught to kind of leave their items right there waiting for mommy, so that when we have our circle time, they can bring it to me. And some people can circle time every day. Some people maybe circle time twice a week, where you're just kind of, hey, work on it. And on Wednesdays, I'm going to get back to it. We're going to circle up. I'm going to help you with those fractions. I'm going to help you with that word problem. I'm going to help you read the book, where you were reading the book and I need to underline the words that I couldn't pronounce. So whatever it is, you always have to have a time where you get back to kids so that they know that you're available to them. Remember, they were with a teacher, right? The teacher did not have another job going outside of being a teacher, right? At least let's hope not, right? So now your kid may be going through something now because mom is unavailable, particularly for the people who are schooling from home, not the homeschoolers. Homeschoolers are pretty much taught how to work independently, but the people who are now schooling from home, you may have a kid who's a little emotional now because they're used to getting some help that they're not going to get because mom is working. So I hope I answered your question, but that's kind of our strategy. By lunchtime, things are downhill for the Jameses. You understand? Because once they start eating so we try to get the most important things done in the morning. And then we kind of like to wiggle things in the middle of the day between the 12 and 4. By the evening, I'm circling back. I have a circle time in the evening. And then, they actually have other stuff that they may have to do, or a problem that I want them to redo. And so that's my kind of schedule where, maybe in the evening I'm available more than in the morning, or some days it's vice versa. So you need to know your schedule, mom and dad, and it's okay. We have a calendar on our counter that everybody knows where everybody's supposed to be. Now, since we're all kind of at home, now what they just need to know is when you're available for them.
Had almost an hour, and we've lost Faith, says her computer just fell
Yes,
off.
I see.
And you know what? That's a part of this whole journey right now too, right? We're all in circumstances, even the 4 of us, where we're working from home in ways that are unique, we're adjusting to the schedule. And we've covered a lot of stuff here today, but no way have we covered the customized kind of answers that people
Yes.
would need or want. Now, at HSLDA, if you decide to become a member, it's $130 for a whole year. We have 11 educational consultants on our team. And as a member, you can call and you can talk to us for as long as you want to process every square inch of your plan. And at that time, we can better understand what your needs are, what your schedule is, what your parameters are, and we can give you very customized input. And we want to help you. We get that this is stressful, that this is worrisome, and we also want to reassure you that nobody has this figured out in a week.
No. No.
Nobody has this figured out in
No.
a week.
In years, right?
Years. This is real life, but we are here to help you and encourage you and to help you walk through what is best for your family. So we're going to put up some more resources, some more links, but we don't want to overwhelm you by putting those up. We're just putting the best ones up that work for us. What we're going to do is we're going to chunk them. So unlike social media where you're getting just tons of them flowing in like a fire hydrant, we're going to chunk them by category so that you can see, okay, what do I really want to focus on today? I have an hour to plan for this whole new life I've got in front of me today. So today I'm thinking about math, or today I'm thinking about what our overall schedule is going to be, or today I'm thinking about, what kind of structure our family's going to have. And then you can look at our resources and hopefully that'll help point you in the right direction. So we care about you, we're here for you, and we hope that this has been helpful. And thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a Q&A time with a couple of seasoned homeschoolers who had a lot of great ideas just for some of the most pressing questions a lot of people are having. On Friday, Linda Sir is going to be facilitating a discussion on ideas if your kids have cabin fever. And then we're going to be bringing in a couple more of our consultants who are so creative with stuff like that. All of these Facebook Lives are at 2 o'clock. Please keep tuning into our Facebook page because we are going to be really trying to be responsive. Again, look at our hslda.org/quick start guide, and that'll also give you some really practical tips. So please feel free to reach out. We're glad you tuned in today. Thank you, ladies, for such a practical and helpful time, and we'll see you again.